So I'm going to walk you through how I would actually use this book. And it's meant to be a scaffold for art lessons. It's not like a manual by any means. My program, and the one that I'm using here, is a choice-based program. It's not TAB, Teaching Artistic Behavior, but it is kind of in the middle where you're setting up a framework and then students are working within that framework to create something that's personally connected. So as with any good workbook, we're going to start off with vocabulary, our art elements, then we go into our art principles, and then there are some practice pages where they can apply the elements and principles to specific pieces, and then I have a quiz in here, and of course the answers are in the back of the teacher's edition. So we try and get vocabulary done and out of the way as quickly as possible. Then we have some exercise pages where we can work on our color wheel concepts, emotional values of color wheels, and some resources are going to be cited in the teacher's edition that are not listed in the student edition. There's also going to be some pages for material handling and safety, like plaster work, paintbrush care, hot glue guns, razor safety. And with these, I give my students, again, a video that will be linked in the teacher's edition, and students have to sign that they saw the video and what date that they saw it. So if, God forbid, somebody does get injured, I have a note in here the day that I gave them the information that they chose to perhaps ignore, and then we have something to go back with. This will be one of the first project pages I'm going to share with you. There's 3 to give you an idea of how these become scaffolds and not really, the traditional lessons where we all make the same kind of thing. So this is a memorial project. The idea is that the students do some pre-writing about somebody in their life who is no longer with them. Now that could be through death, but it could be through divorce, it could be through moving, or just losing contact. And writing down their memories of that person, the positive things that they remember about them. And then the teacher can decide, based on the materials that they have available in their room, how they want them to interpret this. Now, you could be interpreting this as a painting, or as a sculpture, or as a clay work, or if you wish to give your students more choice, they get to choose the material based on what you're comfortable with them using. But you see that there's no real end result that's kind of shown to the students. This is just a framework, so they develop ideas, sketch their ideas, and then move on to their exploration. Another one is a very popular one, is an alphabet illustration. So I have the students try and come up with a theme that they enjoy, whether it is anime or cooking or engineering or cars or whatever it is, and they try and envision each letter of the alphabet as that particular theme, and these pages kind of help them do that. So in here they can kind of cross off the letters as they sketch it, so they're not going back and doing the same thing, and then they come up with a unique illustration. This again could be interpreted as a 3-dimensional sculpture project, maybe just focusing on one letter, or it could be an entire alphabet for an illustration-based project. Then there's going to be some helper pages that kind of help us get through perspective, 1-point and 2-point and 3-point perspective. So these are kind of those pages that are included in the book. Then we have references for facial proportions, body proportions, some connections to science that can be made. And the book is broken down into core content areas so that if you choose to, you can make connections and maybe team up with a science teacher for a project like this. I also have made this connected to literacy so that, like, for my students, every Monday we focus on one famous quote about art or by an artist. The students read the quote, try and make an interpretation of that, and write down what their thoughts are on it, and then we share. This is a 2 or 3 minute exercise every Monday that gets them enhancing their writing skills. I also have additional information towards the back of the book for our 504 and IEP students. So where we have the vocabulary up front, I will quietly tell those students, give them the page number where they can look up that information, and if we have a quiz or something coming up and it's important for them to have the additional resource, it's actually already for them in the workbook. I have some research pages in here. I do this thing called Interview with a Dead Artist, where the students, instead of writing a boring report, they reimagine the artist as being reanimated as a zombie, and they interview them. So I give them lots of resources to kind of help them out, potential questions that they could be asking and finding the answers for, writing it in the first person, and a rubric that they can use for that. And we have some other research-based projects in there as well. There are some art history support pages. In the workbook, we cover from Renaissance through pop art. You can obviously do more than that, but this is kind of a baseline for us to help organize our notes. Then I have some video notes pages. If you're going to be out for one period, you could leave some YouTube video notes where they write down 5 facts and write a synopsis or a reflection. Or for a longer absence, the students could write 20 facts about a video that they're seeing, and then a summarization, and at the bottom you can circle full credit if you wish to give a score or a partial percentage. If only 50% of it was done, you can score it as 50%. Then I have some critique pages. Some of them are very simple, like a critique sandwich, where they write something positive, something that could be improved, and another good thing. So they get into that habit, and then we can go on beyond that and do some more formal critiques. And I do an example as if I'm critiquing Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And then the book ends with some rubrics. Now, my rubrics, I have the students do a short form in the beginning of the year where they grade themselves, I grade them, my grade sort of stands. But if they give themselves, a A for originality and I give them a C for originality because they copied a resource, then we can have a discussion about what I mean by originality. So in here are some shorthanded terms, and I have a video resource for teachers by what I really mean by neatness, because it isn't really material handling neatness. It has to do with, did they just crumple up their page and put it into their workbook? Did they care for, the materials that were given to them? Is it ripped and smudged, or, did they keep things as clean as possible? The completeness portion of the grade has to be, was the whole thing worked, or did we ignore large areas of our canvas or our sculpture? Originality, did they copy an example? Did they copy a resource, or did they come up with something kind of innovative? Following directions, this again is a choice-based program, so it isn't like the teacher makes a thing and the student copies that thing. That's not what this program is about. But following directions for this is, did you follow directions on how we wanted you to handle paint? Did you set up your area? Did you set up your water? Did you clean up your brushes afterwards? Were you following through on those directions? So that's what that means here. And then meeting the project goals. So if the goal was to create a memorial for a person who's passed, or, a hero that is no longer with us, like a Martin Luther King, is that what you actually ended up with? And if you didn't, we can have a discussion about that. Maybe you came up with something innovative that goes beyond the actual project parameters. Then I have some larger rubrics where students, if they feel like they exceeded expectations, they have to write in how they exceeded expectations. I set it up so 90% is meeting the expectations. Then they have approaches and then miss the expectations. And it's broken down into elements and principles of design, craftsmanship and neatness. Again, neatness has to do with the actual materials that they're using and taking care of them. Time management, were they spending their time on task or were they on their cell phones? Execution, originality, and uniqueness. Did they do something kind of innovative? Did they explore? Even if a project to some people might be considered a failure, maybe that was an innovative approach that didn't work, but we learned something through that process. And then requirements and depth. Did you answer the problem of the project, and did you make it personal? Did you kind of go beyond those expectations? So that's what that rubric is for. Again, in the teacher's edition, we have more resources and links for the educator to use as resources that are linked to YouTube and other places. Now, this is the Art Students Workbook. There are several other workbooks found at firehousepublications.com, but they all sort of follow this basic scaffolding idea for workbooks. If you have any questions, you can go to firehousepublications.com and contact us, and we'll be happy to help you out.